Dude, him versus Cyril Gane, that's very interesting.
For sure. And I know the power is going to translate over to heavyweight. That's not going anywhere. He'll be able to flatline heavyweights.
100%, especially with zero weight cut.
Yeah. He's probably 230, 240 walking around. 230 something maybe.
He's 240.
Yeah, dude, come on.
He's 240 walking around.
That's a legit heavyweight. He's
a
big,
legit
tall,
heavyweight.
long.
Fucking guy fought at 85.
But so is Cyril, man.
Cyril's good.
An athlete heavyweight, not just a big guy fighting at heavyweight. He's a legit heavyweight.
To be fair, that's all Alex Pereira's done, right? He had a quick rise through the middleweight division for Alex Pereira, and since then, it was Pereira time. Anytime he fought, he was the main event on the pay-per-view. The whole world went into a frenzy. Channels all over the place, knockouts galore, and a schedule that was insane, right? So he deserves all the accolades. And I know in the past, I might have bet against him because the first time Magomed Ankalaev beat him, I thought the possible anxiety from fighting Pereira and the power, that's gone. He's going to be more aggressive this time and better with the wrestling. But he got smoked. He got smoked in 69 seconds or something like that. So that's why I picked against him. I'm not hating on the guy. What he's done is phenomenal. If he beats or loses to Cyril Gane, who does he fight next? Well, he still thinks he's got a good chance of facing John Jones because John Jones, Dana talked about it recently. He said he's done. He's got arthritis and all this, and John Jones came out and had a bit of a tweet and delete storm on Twitter, right? You never know. John Jones might come back because, as Pereira said, he's under contract. They're not going to release him from contract. And if John Jones gets that itch and gets that scratch, listen, I'd still love to see it. And Pereira still wants to fight John Jones. And that would be something unbelievable. And if Pereira goes off and becomes a 3-weight division champion, right? John Jones might want to come back. And Dana and the UFC and Hunter and everyone might go, you know what? He can be a liability, but dude, we got...
Yeah, this got to be Cyril's last crack at a title, right? Like, this will be his 5th chance at an interim or undisputed. He won the interim one against Derek Lewis, but the rest is being, no contest or losses. I know the division is thin and I know it's rough, but like, I can't imagine a world where he gets a 6th chance if he loses this.
Yeah, and that too, we just spoke about it with the first fight. Again, when the division is rough, it just makes it look like, the title fights aren't as exciting because the rest of the division is rough. So it almost looks like, well, who else is there to fight for this except for these two guys? So there is a little bit of that involved in this fight. But again, I don't want to take anything away from the fight because, like I said, Alex is probably going to go down as the greatest fighter we've ever seen if he can pull this off. Cyril Gane is an absolute stud, and he's capable of being great. He hasn't really done that and showed us that yet in the big moments. So because he hasn't showed us in the big moments, that's why I'm not putting this higher. He hasn't done that, but he has the potential to do that now. That they fought, like, who has Alex fought that moves like Cyril Gane? Like, we don't even know how. I mean, maybe we can go back to his kickboxing days and see something, but we haven't seen it in MMA. And then for Cyril Gane, like, we haven't seen him face a guy quite like this, right? And the only thing that we've seen him face that was similar to this, it's not in style, but it's in aura, John Jones, and he completely folded. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on fight, and this is in the White House too, man. So that's another factor for Cyril Gane that I'm a little concerned with, because if he can't deal with like being at the White House and fighting a big fight like this, then man.
The landscape of the middleweight division is on the precipice of a seismic event. This is not merely a contest of rankings. It is a collision of contrasting ideologies, fighting styles, and volatile personalities. On one side stands Sean Strickland, a fighter who has wrapped himself in the unfiltered, brash persona of the American patriot, utilizing a unique, pressure-heavy boxing style to break his opponents mentally and physically. On the other side is Khamzat Chimaev, Boars, a terrifying force of nature whose absolute grappling dominance has drawn comparisons to the sport's most legendary wrestlers. The anticipation for this matchup transcends the standard title eliminator. It is a spectacle that promises to merge high-level technical warfare with a deeply personal, chaotic buildup, setting the stage for what could easily become the biggest middleweight clash in UFC history. When analysts break down the strategic pathways of this fight, they inevitably confront a terrifying piece of MMA mathematics. The blueprint for dismantling Strickland's defense may have already been inadvertently exposed by the reigning champion, Dricus du Plessis. Despite Strickland's highly touted defensive wrestling, du Plessis was able to repeatedly secure takedowns, dragging the American to the mat time and time again. This creates a chilling projection. If a powerful but predominantly striking-focused champion like du Plessis could repeatedly breach Strickland's takedown defense, what it for a the threat posed by Khamzat Chimaev becomes almost insurmountable. Chimaev operates on an entirely different stratosphere of grappling, possessing a chain wrestling pedigree that makes ordinary takedowns look pedestrian. For Strickland loyalists, this statistical reality is a glaring vulnerability waiting to be exploited.
Question outside your own fight. You've always been very, very staunchly in the belief that interim champion is a champion.
Facts.
So does that mean guaranteed Alex Pereira goes up to heavyweight?
He's a champion. He's a champion.
3-weight head champion.
The fuck interim. Like, you can't tell me a guy gets a belt. Like, interim, look up the word interim, what it means. In the meantime, in the interim, he is the champion. So, as well, like, my belts have how many rubies on them. People try and like discredit it and be like, oh, well, one of them was interim. I'm like, well, come take it away. Come take it away from me. But yeah, he's gonna be the champion, and then he's gonna have a super fight with John Jones, and that'll be a big ass fight too. But that's still the White House.
You should be negotiating for John Jones then, because it doesn't sound like they're getting to the right money there.
Really, they'll find a way. The UFC and the brass over there, they always, and the fighters as well, they butt heads with their managers. But we always get there in the end.
To understand the danger Chimaev presents, one must analyze the terrifying efficiency of his opening sequences. Khamzat does not probe. Churikanis Nasri Zero Wane. He blitzes. The anticipated game plan involves Chimaev storming the center of the octagon, utilizing explosive, heavy strikes not necessarily to knock Strickland out, but to force a high guard and backward movement. The moment Strickland's base narrows to brace for a strike, Chimaev will initiate a violent, reactive level change. It is a kinetic storm designed to overwhelm the central nervous system before the opponent can even establish a rhythm. The profound question hovering over this matchup is not whether Chimaev will secure the takedown, but whether he possesses the suffocating top control to actually submit a veteran as defensively stubborn and notoriously tough as Sean Strickland once the fight hits the canvas. Yet, within the armor of the seemingly invincible Wolf, there exists a well-documented fracture: his cardio in the championship rounds. For all his devastating early dominance, the MMA world has witnessed Chimaev's output wane dramatically when forced to grapple extensively into the second, third, and fourth rounds. Analysts point to his recent bout with Robert Whittaker as the ultimate crucible. Even while absorbing massive damage, Whittaker forced Chimaev to work for every inch of position, sapping the elite wrestler's energy reserves. This historical vulnerability represents the golden key for the Strickland camp. If Chimaev cannot secure an early finish, his relentless pace often degrades, leaving him physically compromised and susceptible to the exact type of attritional warfare that Strickland thrives in.
The storylines going into this, I mean, Surreal gone. I have a real concern for Tom right now. And I am on Tom's side. I want to make sure my words are clear, but I have a real concern because he is scratching the surface of a road that so many guys go down and they never come back. 1 year ago today, Tom wants to compete and he doesn't understand it. John wants a bunch of money. He's looking at the UFC going, you got a contract with the guy, get him in the ring. And that mindset appears to be gone. All of a sudden, it's not about competition. Now it's about money. And now all of a sudden, it's not about, hey guys, thanks for everything you've done for me. It's, hey guys, I'm being told by other people, you haven't done enough for me. When you go down that road, there's no coming back. And I only share that with you. It's very relevant. As we go into Pereira versus Gone, the story of the White House is that we could have our first ever champ, but people are saying no. They're saying the interim belt doesn't count, and that's not a fight that I want to have.
For Sean Strickland, the path to victory is paved through a hellish 10-minute survival mission. If he can weather the initial chaotic onslaught, absorbing the blitz, framing off the takedowns, and forcing Chimaev to expend maximum energy without securing a finish, the dynamic of the fight completely flips. Once the explosive threat of the reactive takedown diminishes, Strickland can begin to implement his signature march. By utilizing his piston piston-like jab and relentless forward pressure, Strickland can force Chimaev onto the back foot. Without the threat of an immediate explosive shot, Chimaev would be forced to rely on his striking, a facet of his game that, while powerful, lacks the disciplined, technical polish required to survive a pure kickboxing match against a master of distance like Strickland. Though
apparently I'm the only one that care. I don't care what comes in front of world champion. If it ends with world champion, I believe it counts. But if our community doesn't, fine. I'm just here to tell you history is a way to repeat itself. And when people like to say that Tom is the undisputed champion, they have very short-term memories. Because if I was to say, did he win that? I go, are you sure? I say, did he defend that? Are you sure? Like, people would have to kind of remember and go, well, no, I guess he was an interim and I guess he was elevated. Right thing to do. But if history does repeat itself and Tom does go down this road, if Tom doesn't come back, the significance of Ciryl versus Pereira is going to be huge. The significance of that fight, if one ends up elevated to undisputed champion, which is what just happened to us 5 months ago in the very division. There is so much on this card, but sometimes it comes.
Those doubting Strickland's ability to keep the fight standing must reconcile with his recent masterclass against Anthony "Fluffy" Hernandez. Hernandez entered the octagon as a highly touted, relentless grappler, yet he was made to look like an amateur striking dummy. Strickland's defense wasn't just about sprawling, it was a symphony of precise straight punches and subtle, evasive footwork that completely neutralized the wrestler's ability to even approach his hips. Strickland demonstrated an elite capability to manage distance, punishing every entry with sharp counters. This performance served as a stark reminder to the division that merely possessing a wrestling pedigree is not enough to drag Tarzan to the mat. An opponent must find a way to navigate through a barrage of leather just to secure a clinch. However, the comparison between Anthony Hernandez and Khamzat Chimaev possesses a fatal flaw. While Hernandez relies on grit and volume, Chimaev is a hyper-elite athlete armed with explosive twitch muscle fibers and genuine knockout power. Analysts firmly reject the notion that Strickland's performance against Hernandez guarantees success against Chimaev. Boers possesses the unique ability to completely bypass distance management with sheer speed and violence. He will not be deterred by a stiff jab. He is willing to absorb a strike to close the gap. The overwhelming consensus from grappling experts is that Chimaev's combination of slick stand-up power and generational wrestling chops guarantees that Strickland will inevitably find himself fighting off his back, enduring a brutal sequence of ground and pound.
Fight deal. Of course, the first fight on that deal will be against Ciryl Gane for the heavyweight title, the interim heavyweight title. Now, the old cliche in combat sports is I don't want to look past my opponent because, I'm focused on Ciryl Gane, and he should be, because that's a tough fight. But it's a very winnable fight. It's a very compelling, fun matchup. A lot of people came out talking shit to me because I said it might be a better matchup than John Jones. The reason I said that, and it's pretty goddamn obvious, is because it will be a striking affair, right? People didn't love the BMF because Charles Oliveira dominated the fight on the ground. And more than likely, I'm not being disrespectful to Pereira, you got to think that's what John Jones would do. He would take him down. And if Pereira could defend the submissions, it'll look like the BMF, right? And everyone booed. Everyone talked shit. Even Dana White didn't.
A crucial element of this tactical breakdown centers on Strickland's famous defensive posture, the modified Philly shell. While this upright, shoulder-rolling guard is exceptionally effective at deflecting strikes and parrying jabs, it presents a massive anatomical liability against an elite freestyle wrestler. The high stance exposes the hips and legs, making it fundamentally incompatible with rapid sprawl and brawl tactics. Critics of Strickland's chances argue that his boxing-centric base will be rendered entirely useless the moment Chimaev decides to bypass the hands and attack the lower body. Against a predator who treats elite middleweights like grappling dummies, an upright boxing guard is not a shield. It is an invitation for a high-amplitude slam. Adding a layer of psychological tension to this impending clash is a legendary, infamous sparring session between the two men. Behind closed doors, away from the cameras, it is an openly acknowledged secret, confirmed by Strickland himself, that Chimaev utterly embarrassed the American in the grappling exchanges, submitting him multiple times. While gym wars do not always translate directly to the octagon, the psychological weight of that encounter cannot be ignored. Strickland knows exactly what Chimaev's top pressure feels like, and Chimaev knows he possesses the code to break Strickland's defenses. This shared history strips away the illusion of the unknown, turning the matchup into a dark psychological thriller where one man is attempting to overcome a trauma and the other is looking to repeat a massacre.
So based upon that knowledge, this makes for a better fan-pleasing matchup. But yeah, I'm a dickhead if I say that, right? Jesus Christ, you just can't win. So anyway, Ciryl Gane, who knows, right? Who knows if he wins that fight? We don't know. But he's still convinced that he's going to fight Jon Jones one day, because regardless of whether or not he beats Ciryl Gane, which is a tough fight, and if he does beat him, he becomes a 3-weight division champion. Does that automatically make him the most successful UFC fighter of all time? Because on paper it does. But when you look at the matchups, does it make him the best? Does that make his career more impressive than Jon Jones, than George St. Pierre, than Anderson Silva, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson? I don't know, but it's certainly a topic of conversation. Let me know your thoughts on that. But if he beats him, and even if he doesn't beat him, right, who is he gonna fight? Because that kind of paycheck, he's gonna be involved in nothing but blockbuster fights.
The true terror of Khamzat Chimaev's grappling lies in the timing of his execution. Most MMA wrestlers, like the aforementioned Hernandez, utilize their grappling as a tool of attrition, waiting for an opponent to fatigue before heavily investing in takedowns. Chimaev operates on the exact opposite philosophy. He initiates his most devastating grappling sequences when he is completely fresh, operating at absolute peak physiological endurance. He does not drag you into deep waters to drown you. He attempts to drown you the moment you step off the shore. This means Strickland will be forced to defend the most lethal, explosive version of Chimaev's wrestling from the very first bell, a task that has broken almost every man who has attempted it. A nuanced analysis of Strickland's defensive grappling reveals a specific truth. He is not inherently difficult to take down, but he is notoriously difficult to hold down. Against mediocre or even above average grapplers, Strickland excels at using the cage to wall walk, scrambling back to his feet almost immediately. But Chimaev is the apex predator of top control. Analysts point to how effortlessly Chimaev mowed through the defenses of Robert Whittaker, utilizing his opponent's own leverage against them to secure inescapable positions. The danger for Strickland isn't just the initial impact of hitting the mat. It is the suffocating, sticky control that follows. A smothering style that negates, scrambles, and forces opponents to carry Chimaev's entire weight while fighting off submissions.
How can you not love watching Alex fight? Like, he's carried the UFC on his back for almost 2 years. And he's done such great things. And the fact that he's moving up is incredibly noble. And he's taken on Ciryl Gane, who is a legit heavyweight that I think stylistically presents problems to him. And I think it's a great fight, but it's just something had to be at number 4. And there's something about it that and it might just be, again, maybe that lingering Tom Aspinall effect over the whole thing. Like Tom watching from the sidelines, watching two guys fight for his position. I don't want to say his belt, but his position. And I think something about that might kind of weigh it down a little bit from rising up.
Ultimately, the entire architecture of this fight hinges on a violently ticking clock. The prevailing wisdom dictates that if Chimaev cannot secure a brutal finish or a devastating submission within the first 10 minutes, the specter of fatigue will completely alter the trajectory of the bout. Strickland is a master of the 5-round grind, a cardio machine who actually increases his volume as the fight wears on. If the bout crosses the threshold into the 3rd round, the narrative seamlessly shifts. The hunter becomes the hunted. The prediction flips from an inevitable Chimaev submission to a grueling attritional masterclass by Strickland, leaving fans wondering if the Wolf can survive the deep waters he usually avoids.
Going up to heavyweight is something that's been long discussed, and I guess the big thing is, like, is he going for history? Is he not? It's the interim belt. Like, if he wins this fight, are you going to consider him the first 3-division UFC champion, or does he have to get
I would.
Yeah,
I would. Like, yeah, I absolutely would.
Even though it's interim.
Even though it's interim. I mean, like, interim, like, yes, like, the difference is just putting a word in front of it. But it's like Cyril Gane is still champion. Well, and that's another thing too, right? What we have to find out is Cyril Gane championship level material. Like, skill wise, I do believe he is, but mentally and, you know, just emotionally and with his entire being, is he championship level material? And that's what we want to find out, because we've seen him lose against Francis, where he went in the fight, but just made the silly mistake at the end. And then we saw him completely lay an egg against John Jones. And that's not championship level material, but he's seemed to have matured into it. Now, when he was fighting Tom Aspinall, he showed championship level material fighting, even though it was a little dirty. And that's another thing. Can he fight cleanly with championship level material?
Long before the cage door locks, this rivalry will be fought in the theater of public perception and psychological warfare. The press conferences are guaranteed to be spectacles of pure chaos. Strickland, fully aware of Chimaev's volatile temper, is expected to deploy a relentless barrage of unfiltered, highly provocative rhetoric, attacking Chimaev's heritage, politics, and pride. This is calculated rage baiting, designed to break the stoic facade of the Chechen fighter. Analysts are genuinely predicting that the verbal assaults will cross the line from standard trash talk into a physical confrontation. There is a palpable expectation that Chimaev, overwhelmed by Strickland's deliberate provocations, may completely lose his composure, potentially storming the stage or inciting a backstage brawl that will define the chaotic legacy of this historic matchup before a single official punch is